Okay. So hello everyone. This is the working group meeting. Some quick recap. We had the working group session at KubeCon China, and also we had the SIG security session as well. But I was not able to attend it, so that was Brendan leading the discussion. Overall, I think pretty good. Yeah, so let me see. Yeah, nothing much about the logistics, so everything seems in place. So, any update regarding the formal verification discussion we're having, or any other side, multi-tenancy?
No actual concrete progress, but now I'm back in town. This is Robert. Yeah, I was traveling for the last 3 weeks, so I didn't get a chance to carry the ball forward on the formal verification.
Yeah,
However,
no problem.
it did come up, I think, again in some context today on the SIG security call. Someone from Google, I think, was talking about having the ability to host an environment that you could then delegate permission to other tenants and be able to allow them to define policy, and then yet have kind of a global way of making sure that their policies don't violate larger constraints and open up vulnerabilities to other tenants, et cetera, et cetera. So I think discussion around and about how policy can be validated either in a tenant or even within the same tenant environment where there's delegation and hierarchy, I think it screams out for the formal verification. And whether it's SMT solvers or another language to do this, I think it's increasingly important to move this forward. So I will try to carve out time in the next week to at least add a few more items to the issue that was created 4 weeks ago.
So you mean what the Google people propose is like I didn't quite catch it. So
they weren't proposing a solution so much as restating a use case in that they as a platform, of course, have their set of policy. Then they have multiple tenants who in turn will expose, for example, a Kubernetes environment to their internal tenants. So maybe different groups within a company, different development groups who want to deploy different apps, and all have their own different policy decisions that they want to make. Mm-hmm. So you have this very large hierarchy that spans the underlying cloud provider, the kind of enterprise cloud provider, and maybe it's public cloud, maybe it's hybrid cloud, maybe it's self-hosted cloud. And then you've got all of the internal enterprise divisions and subdivisions who all want to have policy definition capabilities. Yeah. And what Google was expressing is how do we validate that all of these different policies don't conflict with one another, don't overwrite one another in ways that create vulnerabilities. So it was more of a restatement of the problem rather than a solution. So I'm volunteering that the formal verification is one possible way of providing that validation, and why I think it needs to be looked at.
Okay, so they're talking about basically sharing resource across their internal, like different tenants, right? If I have something I want to share with you.
Yeah, I'll give you a real world example that happened today. Someone in my organization created a Google cluster, a GKE cluster for me to use for development and testing. and I needed certain role creation and deletion permissions in Google GKE, and I didn't have them. So I said, look, I need permission set that allows me to do this. Can you create the policy and give me the role and give me those permissions in IAM? And he couldn't figure it out, so he just said, here, now you have global everything. So now I have all permissions to the whole Google account versus having a very constrained set of permissions just for that GKE cluster that I needed access to. So I think this is where the practical reality is there's a lot of policy delegation that's missing, or at least maybe not widely known if it does exist. And
okay, got it.
even if you can delegate those permissions, then how does someone verify that I don't create a malicious policy or accidentally create a policy that undoes somebody else's policy?
Great. Great use case. Well, anyways, if you guys has any thoughts, we can gather it on the Google Doc. Erica started here. So, yeah. I think I need to sync up also with Rita from the Gatekeeper project on post security policy. See if anything moving there.
Yeah, that's the one I'm most interested about. There's been heaps of talk about pod security policy not going GA until something else is proposed. So that's something that I'm super keen to follow through and have a look at in this working group.
Yeah. We talked about it. I think last meeting. You weren't here. Yeah, you were on the way traveling to China. So they, I think they start to talk about like moving entirely the PSP mechanism into something like Gatekeeper to see if that's a possibility. And we are all quite like look forward to that actually. So if Gatekeeper can support PSP, like in addition to all the authentication capability they are doing now, that would be a big like step forward. Yeah.
All right. I'll go watch that. I haven't watched that meeting yet. I'll watch it after this one.
Okay.
I'll catch up.
No problem. Yeah. Shooting, I believe, are you first time here?
Yeah, this is my first time attending this meeting.
Can you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a software engineer working at Namada, which is a startup company in Bay Area. And we're currently working on the policy project. So I'm just interested. And I found there's a SIG group here. I just want to see what happened here.
Oh, cool. Are you like just like using a policy project in CNCF, or are you developing one yourself?
Yeah, we are currently developing on one of the policy management controller.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So is it like manager for Kubernetes, or is it like a policy engine like open policy agent?
Yeah, it's a policy engine and it's an open source project. You can check it out. It's on GitHub. The name is Kyverno.
Can you put the link on the meeting note? Do you have the meeting note?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, I think we also need to invite the cloud custodian people to give a talk. I think there was like big confusion. Oh. So, can you just describe just overall, like what's the relationship between the kernel and OPA and all of the existing like policy project?
Yes. I think kernel is Kubernetes native policy management, and our policy has the different type of rules, which are the mutate rule, validate rule, and generate rule. And the major difference from open policy agent, I think, that it's a native Kubernetes thing. You can define your policy in the YAML format, just like how you write the spec of the Kubernetes resources. And then if you apply the controller to your cluster, and we can apply our policy in your incoming resources. It's working part of the admission webhook.
Okay, so one of the like argument has been constantly coming up in the working group is that we view that there's a difference between the policy and configuration. Is that policy often expect like result. For example, if you written policy in Rego for OPA, you can construct like conditions, and then when you don't meet the conditions or you do meet the conditions, what the like result you are expecting. But like YAML or JSON, we often use for configuration. You can't actually well define the expect result, right? Or
yes, but we support the similar logic with this condition stuff. We have the special character. If you can go to more examples, yeah, click that link.
Which one? Oh, yeah.
Actually, let me find it for you. Just give me a sec. I can send it to the link. If you can open the link in the chat.
Yeah.
We actually have the operators, like the anchor.
Okay.
Like if you go down in the last example, check one if exists. So in this case, do you see the container's name? The name under the container's field.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is to say if the name is mapping any of the wildcard, and we want to validate if the memory, memory request is something that you can.
Okay. So then what would be like the relationship between kernel and the Gatekeeper project?
I just came across the Gatekeeper project. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, no problem. I'm just curious. But anyways, I think YAML-based policy has coming up quite a lot. The Cloud Custodian project also relies on YAML instead of the data log.
I mean, I'm even though I've worked with OPA a lot, I'm still a big proponent of separating what policy, kind of a policy specification from any given policy language. I mean, I think it should be pluggable. I know that's not the case today, but I would love if out of this working group down the road, if there was a way to specify, here's what a policy language needs to support. And then, you could plug in whatever language you could use, Ruby, you could use Python, whatever you want to use, as long as it adheres to the specification of what the policy language needs to support.
Yeah. Again, yeah, quite interesting.
YAML, JSON, whichever.
Okay, Shooting, I think if you if you like, you can prepare a more like in-depth presentation, and we can just book a slot like for the following meetings. So you can come back and do a more in-depth introduction of the project. Okay.
Yeah, sure. That sounds interesting. Actually, we have a coming meetup next week in Santa Clara. If any of you are interested, I can share the link to the meetup.
Great. Yeah. Also, I just remember. I also discussed the idea of policy formal verification with. Oh God. Wait, the name just slipped out my head. Torren. So at KubeCon Shanghai. Yeah, I think he's also quite interested. Just a side note. Oh. Great. Okay. Anything else you guys want to cover? Okay, if not, I think we can just conclude the meeting earlier, and I will upload the recording after the meeting, as usual. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good. See you
Thank
guys.
you guys. Yeah, see you
Bye.
next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.